So there's an ongoing list of extremely controversial interior design elements that people can have in their home. And today we're gonna go through them because I'm gonna tell you the ones that are right and the ones that are wrong. And you're gonna tell me in the comments what you think. First one is a doozy because it has split people, I'd say pretty 50-50, while the other ones can kind of like waver, but it is open versus closed concept. And I personally think that COVID and the whole pandemic really changed the dynamic of how people live and work in their spaces. Everyone loved the open concept after the last probably 30 years. Everyone's like, I'm gonna blow out walls, but I'm gonna have this open. I want it to feel spacious. It is now turned into, I need a closed off room. I need the privacy. I want to either isolate the sounds or the smells of a kitchen, of how dirty and messy it can be, to actually having that more formal dining room. So in the past, rooms have been separately isolated, which can be good to an extent. Everyone liked having those separate rooms because it gave you the opportunity to make each room different, and it allows you to isolate the design for each of them separately as well. Fast forwarding to today, where every single person has an open concept, and not only is it an open concept, it is an open concept of the entire main floor typically, which includes your entryway or your foyer, your living and dining space, your kitchen, and possibly a powder room or a bathroom off of that main floor. That's a lot of items to have in one specific viewpoint. When you walk in, it can be extremely overwhelming. And sometimes it literally looks like a furniture showroom because all you see is chair, 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 and all the surfaces pretty much aligned at the same level, which also makes it really challenging to design around. Committing to a design in open concept is also extremely challenging because for the most part, your design has to be extremely neutral, so you don't have competing factors, competing colors, and competing finishes that really allow your attention to be drawn all over the place. You need to be very mindful and very minimal to what finishes are included in your flooring, your colors for your walls, and your larger scale furniture pieces like your sofa, your tables, or even your chairs. The last thing you want to do is have everything all the same, but you can also not have everything all different either, or else it ends up looking like a Frankenstein room. In my humble opinion, I love the idea of open concept, but it works to a very specific styled home and layout. So keep that in mind if you're debating between doing an open and closed concept. I like the idea of being able to have some rooms separate, but I feel for the most part, if you're entertaining, open concept always works really well. And this is where it becomes so controversial because people that love hosting and entertaining, they are all for an open concept. People that don't entertain as much and like having that privacy, or maybe they work from home, they enjoy having those isolated spaces for the privacy and sound kind of barrier between the two. Lighting is another major challenge in open concept spaces because depending on your height, your ceiling ends up looking like a stadium with the amount of pot lights you have, or you have all these cords hanging down and interrupting that visual point of floor to ceiling because you obviously need to have light in the space. Or alternatively, you could just end up having floor lights and table lights plugged into the walls and floor to kind of keep that low level light elsewhere. But for the most part, it's really challenging to design an open concept space from a lighting standpoint correctly. I'm sorry that I'm going to be causing so many fights in my comment section, but the next one is the TV over the fireplace. Now I get it. I will let you have the TV over the fireplace if you have an electric one and the TV is actually at the correct height. If you have a mantle on a fireplace and the TV is up closer to the ceiling, jail. Immediately jail, because I have done that before. You know how much my neck hurts? My neck hurts because I have to look at a TV up so high. That's for another discussion because I made the mistake in my own place and I can't change it, but we're moving on because people hate it. In my opinion, a fireplace is the statement in a room. If you're adding a TV over the fireplace and the mantle, it really detracts from the beauty of what a fireplace is meant to be in a space. That being said, you can have both in a room. My opinion is I love the symmetry of a design in a space. It really allows you to create that sense of balance, which makes a room visually appealing. And having a TV over a fireplace allows you to have that symmetry. But at the same time, if you have an asymmetrical design, it really can throw off the balance overall if you're kind of OCD like me and you're looking at it. But you can create balance in so many other ways to have that sense of harmony in a space. I'm sure you have all seen that viral video of that one interior designer on the podcast that's like, oh my God, you should never have a TV above a fireplace. You always need to have a separate room for a TV room. And I was like, girl, are you kidding me? We cannot all have a house that's big enough to have a separate room just to watch TV. I know that would be great, but the average person does not. The average person lives in either a small home or a condo where you really cannot have those two separated. If you do need to have the TV over a fireplace, because sometimes that's the only place to have it in these older homes and how they're designed, I'm gonna give you 2 suggestions. 1, get a TV frame, or at least one of those TVs that looks like a piece of art, so it doesn't really detract from the style of the fireplace. Number 2 is getting one of those TV pivot mounts. That way, if it is up high, the entire TV can actually be lowered to proper sitting height to enjoy the TV and not strain your neck. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give you 3. I'm throwing in so many suggestions for you today, but is to paint the fireplace or have the mantle either a dark color or a black. That way, when you look into a room, you're not visually detracted by seeing a black box and a black box. Everything looks cohesive in the singular design. So then that way it doesn't actually take away from the overall design of the room itself. I feel like this list could go on forever because there's always gonna be controversy, but this one is freestanding versus built-in tubs. And there's many pros and cons to each of them. I personally love a freestanding tub because the way that they're designed is more sculptural. They can make an impact and really allow you to have a space that's beautifully designed around a singular piece. That being said, a lot of people hate them because you need to run separate plumbing for them to usually come in through the ground, and you need to know exactly where it's going if you're redesigning a space, and you can't just add them in for the sake of it without removing the plumbing lines and changing them. And then if we look at the con side of a built-in tub, they are dated. Most of the time they're acrylic and they're really not that pretty looking unless you do one of those dropped-in ones with the tiles around the front to really kind of hide the overall look of it. But everyone is taking out tubs these days. The average person, like myself, doesn't really fit in a bathtub, especially if you live in a condo. The standard size is between 59 inches and 60 inches. Are you kidding me? You can either wet your lower half or your top half. You usually can't do both. The average person like me being a giant. There are big people in the world, okay? The one pro side to having a built-in tub is that you actually have a ledge. So if you're drinking or you have all your accessories for when you're in the bath, everything is readily available and accessible. If you have the freestanding tub, you usually have to have like a side stool or something beside you to at least have those items. I have seen some of those built-in pieces that just sit on the front, but in my opinion, don't really add to the overall design of the space and they end up looking ugly. So this one for me is a 50-50 because it really depends on the space. This one I'm going to tell you you're wrong because I'm the only one that's right on this one, and it is 2-story spaces in your foyer or dining areas. This has become a big trend over the last probably 8 to 10 years, is having this double vaulted space of having 2 floors connected. Yes, it sounds like a great idea until you have been in one. It feels like you are in a cathedral. The vaulted height is so high, the sound barrier transfers all between. Just a little reminder, heat rises. So if you have these double-storied spaces, the heat gets trapped up there and it's really difficult to disperse it unless you have fans. And once you add in fans, it ends up looking like a Planet Fitness having those giant industrial ones in these huge spaces. In concept, these sound really great to have because you have all that light, all that extra room above you. But if you've actually been in one of these spaces, you will realize it feels very daunting. You are super dwarfed. The items play really awkward scales with how big it is. And there is no level of coziness or intimacy in these spaces. So many people are doing living rooms with these double heights and you sit there and you just go, that's all you do. You can't actually be comfortable because you don't feel cozy. Even if you have people around you, your eyes are at a level where they're constantly feeling like they need to go up, which can make a lot of people feel really uncomfortable. So next on the list is carpet in the bedrooms. And I get it, it sounds like a great idea because it's really gonna stop sound transfer from room to room. So if your parents are watching the Oscars and you hear clapping, you know it's the Oscars. In all seriousness, carpets are a very dated looking style in so many homes. Everything used to be carpet on the second floor, hardwood on the main to one, conserve cost, because if we're being honest, hardwood is expensive, especially in this day and age. But it allowed that disconnect between the two floors of more personal and more public. Now everyone wants the same floors to be consistent throughout because it not only makes your space feel larger, but it creates that connection between the floors or different areas of your home. If you're stopping it between hallways and having carpets in the bedroom, it really detracts from that openness that you would get from that design. That being said, this is another one that's split down the middle. I personally believe that having the same floor consistent throughout is always going to look and feel better in the space. I get the idea of walking into a carpet and having that kind of cozy feeling in a bedroom. That's why rugs are here. You can still include a rug to not only reduce the sound transfer, but also have that level of coziness of when you're getting in and out of bed so you're not stepping on cold floors. This is gonna have some people pressed, but it is the all white kitchen. It has been the standard go-to for the last probably 8 years. I mean, minus the gray that came in. So many people are so obsessed with the white kitchen because they're like, oh, it's better for resale value. If someone's gonna buy it, we want something neutral and clean. If you're designing your space around the resale value, it's not really your home anymore. You're literally only looking at it from the value perspective of what you're gonna get out of it and not enjoying in your space. And then that's not really your place that you can call home anymore. It's literally just an investment that you're living in to then sell down the line. That being said, white kitchens are so sterile. Yes, they're very clean and very simple, but there is literally no personality in these spaces. You're looking at white countertops, white cabinets, white walls, and then your windows with all that light coming in. It is so bright in some of these all white kitchens that it is like wild, that it is so uncomfortable to walk into these spaces and just see light reflecting off the countertop, all across the floor, across the walls and the cabinets. And God forbid they use a high gloss cabinet. You're gonna blind somebody when they walk in there. It literally looks like an unfinished canvas. And coming from a painter, I'm dead serious on that one. If you do like the all white kitchen, because I get it, it can be appealing, please go for an off-white with a little bit of warmth to it. That will completely change the kitchen's design and the dynamic of how it looks. While we're on the topic of kitchens, another controversial subject is the double island or the extra long island. In my opinion, it makes it look like a food court or a cafeteria if you need to have a 14-foot island. How many people are you having over and entertaining that you need 14 feet and probably 11 or 12 chairs at the end of it? It looks like a showroom. And not only that, when you think about it, if you are extending an island to that length, there is no countertop in fabrication, whether it be engineered or natural stone, that you can get that length. You're gonna have 2 or 3 seams located somewhere along that island to get it to that length. That's my issue with that one. The second issue is the double island. No, just no, you do not need 2 islands, one for prepping and one for sitting at. How many people do you have in your house? Maybe if you have like 5 or 6 families and you're feeding and you're cooking all the time, then I can get it from a prep and cooking and serving standpoint. But the average person that has these double islands does not have a huge family. And please, if I'm wrong, please prove me wrong. Maybe if you're the Kardashians on Christmas, but then again, you probably have a personal chef that's doing everything for you. And you know what? They might need that extra space and prep room. But if you're a personal chef, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I think it's such a dead waste of space. The only benefit to having 2 islands I could ever see is your children, if they're fighting and they're running away from each other, you're never going to be able to get one. You can figure 8 around that thing and you will always be safe. So I saved this one for last because it is not very PG-13. So if you were able to watch through this whole video up until this point, I'm proud of you. But this topic is going to be bookmatched stone. I personally love it. I think it is so beautiful. It is literally a mirror image of a same block that's been cut and had that reversed image. So you have that beautiful sense of symmetry of a stone piece that's been mirrored on both sides. The downside to this, that if you have not seen one, it literally looks like a vulva. If you are deciding to go with a bookmatched stone, whether it be in your shower, in your kitchen, please make sure that whatever fabricator you are going to or supplier that you're buying these stones, they can lay out those 2 bookmatch pieces beside each other so you can visually see it before you commit to it. Because if we're being honest, some of them look exactly like you're looking at a medical document. And other ones, you can really get away with the distracting patterns that look more like a mountain than open legs. And that's all for today. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any more controversial design topics, because I feel like I could make a part 2 to this series. But thank you so much for watching. Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you haven't already, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok for all my daily tips and tricks. And if you're ever second guessing yourself, just ask, what would Design Daddy do? Agree on all my points.